Oh, hello.
Oh, I didn't see you there.
Welcome to Blurry Photos. I'm David Flora.
And I am David Stecco.
And welcome back for those of you who are coming back from all the amazing podcasts that we have put out there so far.
You're so glad there's another one for you to listen to. I am excited, as I always am, because the music that we have for this podcast makes it sound like you and I dive through windows and kick in doors, literally chasing ghosts that are trying to get away.
Chasing ghosts through like warp zones and things
Sliding
like that.
across 78 Buicks, driving through alleys where a guy's moving a sheet of glass.
So yeah, and if this is the first time for you joining us, then go back and listen to some of our other stuff.
Oh yeah,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Anything exciting happened to you this week, Stecco?
You know what? I've been working, as I mentioned last week, tirelessly on my Halloween costume.
Right.
Which I am very excited about, and I'm just enjoying the fall.
Yeah. It's so nice out.
I hate summer. I hate it. I hate Earth's yellow sun. It weakens me. And the fall is when I...
Are you Bizarro Superman?
Yeah, when I think with just Bizarro.
Okay. Yeah. I'm of the same ilk. I cannot stand summer whatsoever. I hate the heat. I love fall and I love winter. So I'm getting very excited with October and everything. It's just an amazing time of the year. October's a great month. It's full of all kinds of the best holiday of the year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and in addition to my birthday, there's also a holiday called Halloween. Did you know that?
Is there?
Wait a minute. Were you just referring to my birthday as the best holiday of the year? Or?
No, that I would refer to as Steckomas.
Oh, nice. Yes, where I ride from rooftop to rooftop, visiting children in their dreams. It is no longer recognized as a holiday.
not in the 48 states.
Thanks, Alaska, for hanging tough.
So yeah, October's a great month, and we are continuing on our theme month, which is everything that has to do with Halloween and things that you think of when you think of that.
Yeah.
And we're still looking for a name for what to call October, because
Blanktober is really it's winning because it's getting used.
It's winning because that's all there is. We've tried some others and they failed miserably. So again, if you got a good fill in the blank for our Blanktober, send it in.
Listen, I'm not going to ask you to do a lot of work on our behalf. I mean,
True.
the pendulum for entertainment swings solely from us to you.
Right.
But if maybe you've enjoyed listening, maybe this is that little thing. We're not going to ask you for money unless you want to give it to us, in which case you can.
Right.
But
we've got a form we can get hooked up that way.
Just do it. But if you don't want to give us money, which I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and I don't want to give us money. You could give us a name for Nottober.
Nottober. Yeah. Unless you really just want to start a campaign to add Blanktober to the list of shirts that we make.
Don't do that.
So today, our topic for Blanktober is going to be superstitions.
That's right. Magnificent superstitions. We are going to go over some of the history, some of the popular superstitions.
Where they came from.
A little bit of the science. There's science in superstition.
There's definitely science in there.
There's a little bit of disease in superstitions.
There's a little bit of foreboding and superstition. If we keep going, we're going to sound like Daleks pretty soon. As a little exterminate.
That's our Halloween podcast. That's all we're doing. We're doing the whole Halloween podcast as Daleks. You'll turn it off in 10 seconds.
Originally, we were going to be all scary Victor Price voices, but nope, Daleks now.
Yeah,
sorry.
Vincent Price.
Once upon a midnight dreary.
Nevermore.
Nevermore.
Okay, that's enough of that.
All right. Oh, okay. So superstitions. Let's get into this a little bit.
Yeah.
By the end of this podcast, hopefully you're well versed on superstitions. And,
We can add to your psychological burden.
and then at the end, you can send us some of your favorite superstitions that we don't cover, which we probably won't because there is a ton of superstitions out there.
I'm holding in my hand an entire dictionary of them. So know that there's some literature here.
There's plenty of literature, and they repeat often, but just as often as they repeat, I feel like they jump from one thing to another. Would you say that that's true? You don't know what I just said, because I don't either.
Okay. I'm glad I called it.
I basically refuted my own. All right. Well, okay. So let's go on and jump in. Superstitions. Now, there's a couple definitions I'm going to throw at you here because just like superstitions, no two definitions for it are alike. Mm-hmm. Again, I just refuted what I just said two minutes ago. But here's the first one for you. A superstition is a belief or practice resulting from ignorance, fear of the unknown, trust in magic or chance, or a false conception of causation.
Oh, that's an awfully negative definition. Although I will say that after ignorance, everything else is just redundant.
That's true. Bad. Resulting from ignorance.
Hee-haw.
The second definition I've got is a belief that one event leads to the cause of another without any physical process linking the two events. Such as astrology or omens, witchcraft, etc., that they contradict natural science.
Now, is there sort of an inherent caveat to that where, I like how I said this, is there an inherent caveat to that, wherein a person feels like they control things? Is it more active, like, or is it kind of like a vote of sorts? Like, well, it still may not go my way, but I'm doing my little part to change this event or get this outcome that I want.
Yeah, that's a good point. Both of those, I think, are viable for this because when you get down to it, superstition is nothing more than just some junk that somebody believes that has no basis for belief. Or some basis for belief, but the basis is kind of supernatural.
Yeah, or just, I mean, or it's a way of explaining some particularly bad behavior. Like when I think superstitions, I think of like dude superstitions. Like, dude, I'm not gonna shave for the playoffs.
For the playoffs, yeah.
I'm not gonna
change my socks.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, and those are things that dudes don't want to do anyway. And then they just find a reason. They say, no, this is about winning. I didn't want it. I'm not gonna do laundry till we win.
I have to inform you though that you just got dude yellow carded.
Oh,
your dude card, just it's on probation.
I don't want to get kicked out of the dude-yin.
Oh gosh. But yeah, we'll get into this in just a little bit about that. But what you just said is something that scientifically they have observed, and we'll talk about that soon. But this is superstitions generally stem from a reverence for things like omens and charms. Symbols, rituals, things like that. And the word superstition is often used negatively. It's a pejorative type word if it's not connected especially to the society's prevailing religion.
Or if it's not connected to Stevie Wonder, because that is a jam.
It is a jam. It's pretty
Superstition
pretty nice.
is a great song.
And if you try to look anything up online, you are going to get slammed with Stevie Wonder.
See, we've done all the work for you. We've waded hip deep through an ocean of Stevie Wonder. A Billy Ocean of Stevie Wonder.
You are on point tonight. Oh, well, yeah, and that's... I think that's sort of common sense. Like, if your people don't do it, then it's probably something that you're going to call stupid or silly, you know? But if it's something that you've grown up on and practiced doing ritualistically, it's something that means a lot to you, you know?
Yeah, people will make fun of people who face Mecca to pray, but will also say, okay, now let's pray before we eat.
Right, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I do consider religion and superstition to be the same thing. There, it's out there. Hope I didn't...
You are an 18th century Enlightenment.
Woo! I'm gonna die of diphtheria.
Should have said Enlightenist, because that's a word. Let's talk about the roots of superstition. The word superstition has its roots in the Latin superstitio,
Nice.
which is comes from the 1st century BCE as it's an excessive fear of the gods or unreasonable religious belief, as opposed to religio, the proper. I couldn't get through that without sounding like friggin' Mario.
Well, I wish we recorded this on video. I don't really wish that, because the hand motions that go with your Latin is, I could almost see that spicy meatball in your hands. So religio.
Religio. How
am I going to win?
The proper reasonable awe of the gods. So yeah, it goes as far back, recorded history to the 1st century, BCE, and it was used to describe the outlaw religions of the Roman Empire, like the Druids and cults that they had, like the Orphic Mysteries, the cult of Isis, and there's they had a cult on every corner back then. But
isn't that, this is one of those interesting things that the place that you find it in history is entirely dependent on your definition of it. You can, obviously the Romans determined what is superstition. Like you said, like it's a religiocentric view, well, there's what we do, and then there's all the weirdos.
Yeah.
But you imagine, even going far back to like loose tribal associations. Mm-hmm. If you don't have reverence for their religious beliefs, then they're all superstitions.
Yeah.
And you wonder how many of those things started out as an actual historical process. The thing that I'm thinking of, for example, is hantavirus. Weirdly enough, Four Corners disease that came up in the 90s. Hantavirus is a pulmonary syndrome, and you get it through inhaling dried rodent urine. The crystallized urine, the virus is in there, it gets into your lungs and it infects you. And when this thing cropped up in the mid-90s, everyone flipped out. Oh, there's some new virus that's killing people in the Four Corners. Mm-hmm. But this thing had been around forever. It was just a statistical anomaly that a few people had died within a week, all of the same thing. And when they did further research, months and months down the line, they realized that most Native American populations in the area had some larger explanation of this. Oh, when there's a wet spring, people will die in the fall. And it was because a wet spring led to more piñon nuts, which would feed more rodents, which would lead to a larger incidence of dried rodent urine being in the air, and more people would die. And you could call that a superstition. But it's actually just sort of a masked scientific observation.
Oh, sure.
Without understanding the mechanisms therein. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Like wives' tales figure heavily into superstition, and some of those
all
are
myths.
Yeah.
All myths are ways of explaining things that aren't that people just haven't figured out scientifically. How to explain. What was it called again?
The hantavirus pulmonary syndrome.
The official virus of Halloween. Oh man,
it's not that funny.
Get out of our house.
A lot of people are dying right now from it.
Hantavirus, man.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of that. Mm-hmm. And it's still going on?
Oh yeah, it still kills people.
Wow. Crazy. So this was going on back in the Roman Empire, and apparently the pagans around Greece and Rome would mock anyone who acted with the fear of the gods and trembled all the time. Don't want to displease Jupiter. Oh. And they in a sense were using superstition as a negative. That was superstition to them. This illogical fear was what they considered superstitious. And then the Romans, or whatever they believed, the pagans thought the pagans were superstitious for what they were doing, dancing in the wood and stuff.
So you got two groups of people going, "You're superstitious." No, you're superstitious.
Pretty much. So then we fast forward a little bit to our friend Martin Luther.
Nice. He has come up before.
In the early 16th century, he went so far as to accuse the popes of superstitious practices, among other things.
Yeah.
But he was saying that...
among being the Antichrist.
He was saying the popes were using superstition in a way, and fleecing people of their money and stuff through that and using ritual and things like that. So, should mention currently the Catholic Church considers superstition to be sinful because it shows a lack of trust in the divine providence of God.
So you can be superstitious if you are not superstitious enough.
Right.
In the right direction.
If you're practicing your own religion's rituals, it's not superstition, it's rituals and tradition and beliefs. But the guy across the street that, burns sage in front of the door is a superstitious nut.
And also probably a hippie, which is worse. You tell us.
So let's get into talking about this, the scientific stuff with it and the psychology.
Yeah, which I like the scientific definition a lot more. Because, like most things scientific,
It makes sense.
it makes sense. It's not recursive. The definition doesn't change based on who's saying it, and that's important to me.
I agree.
So once you hit us with the science.
Well, in this is even in the 20th century. The psychologist B.F. Skinner had a theory regarding superstition because of the observations that he had of pigeons' behavior when they were being fed. And this is pretty interesting. I don't know how closely we can draw a link between humans and pigeons, right? But he's just saying that the observations that he made with these pigeons could correlate a little bit with some observations that have been made about humans, and the same things that the pigeons did could mirror the same thing that humans did in a way. So here's what happened. When they were being fed, or when they thought they were being fed, the pigeons, some of them would turn around in their cage, some of them would swing their head back and forth, and they just did a bunch of just weird movements and idiosyncratic things. Yeah. And he theorized that they might be doing this to influence their feeding schedule, because when it was time for them to be fed and he withheld the food, they continued to do their movements and things, and they did it incessantly until they got fed. So he basically theorized that they were doing this because maybe they believed
they just did it a little harder.
Their actions were causing them to be fed, yeah. And if they weren't getting it, they weren't doing it the actions correctly. So yeah, if they did a little harder, faster, better, stronger, then they would have a reemergence in the 2000s.
Now, the interesting thing is that subsequently, years later, scientists have obviously called into question Mr. Skinner's observation and where he went with it, even going so far in some cases as to maybe point the superstition stick at him.
Oh no.
And I guess that's what happens when you tackle a subject like this. It's too easy to get tarred with it. But what I like about the central crux of the scientific definition being just that, one event leads to the cause of another without any physical process linking the two events. Just that A can be affected by B, even though they don't touch, they don't have anything to do with each other, and then A does something to C, Yeah. And there's a pumpkin in there.
Right. If you imagine a pumpkin
and a gourd of some sort, and it does kind of clear things up a lot. And you wonder in Skinner's experiment if he did control well enough for what would just be a behavior for an animal,
Yeah.
And but it's an interesting point that he brings up with this intermittent conditioning. This idea that every time you hit the feeder bar, you don't always get the pellet, but will you always hit the feeder bar in the same way at the same time? If it's not a guarantee, how far can I push you as a person or a lab animal in your behavior to get that pellet? Like just what you said, do you do it bigger, better, faster, more? Like, and I believe that there's a real psychological trigger there that underlies a lot of superstitions.
Yeah, it rears its ugly head in sports today, especially. Baseball players, they'll, like we mentioned earlier, some of them, if they have a huge game, maybe they don't wash their socks and they wear them again, so in the hopes that they will have another huge game and they'll continue that because of maybe some good luck that's coming from these socks for some reason or another.
Yeah, it's amazing, and without and I think people who are superstitious do the least amount of looking into it, which I think is a part of it.
Yeah.
It's the way a successful religion incorporates spreading the word, and,
right.
and an idea like superstition, it is bad luck to look into it too much. I mean, it's a great mechanism for an idea to take hold of.
Yeah.
And so these people, they're not terribly self-examining about it, but there's this belief that, oh, well, I was just going along my merry way, and I had somehow arranged everything in my life, the socks that I'm wearing, the degree of facial hair that I have, the color of my shirt, and everything turned out perfect.
Yeah.
If I can just keep all the switches in the same position, all the knobs and levers in my life, I will continue to enjoy this.
Yep. Yeah, and then it's funny, and it's like you said, they're blaming C on A, or they're blaming C on like infinity symbol. Like,
smiley face.
It has nothing to do with
winky face.
They're crab that marches side to side. So I briefly mentioned this earlier, but the 18th century we had the Age of Enlightenment, right? Mm-hmm. And that's basically when science started to really take a foothold and start examining the cause of a lot of the phenomena that we see and the way we think and all that good stuff. It was glorious. But they also, that made people kind of the thinkers of the day, that it made them ridicule the belief in miracles and revelation, magic, supernatural, that sort of stuff. That when the Age of Enlightenment had its heyday, the supernatural was kind of pushed to the side and made fun of, and this included superstitions and stuff. Now, superstitions were still considered it was still considered a derogatory term for a belief. But once people started looking into customs and things that certain civilizations and people had in terms of tradition, then they started saying, well, let's not call these superstitions, because this is it's rude, to say this about people when this is how they've acted all along.
Right.
So let's call them folk beliefs. So that's where the term folk belief comes from. It's the regional religious customs of an organized religion that's outside of the doctrine of that religion, but still are things that people do and actions that they perform and stuff. They could be considered superstitions, but again, since they were practices that people have always done and really revered, they hit them with that term, the folk belief instead.
Which is awfully, like, I guess, for the time, that's as accepting. I mean, it is, the term folk belief is kind of a belittling a little bit, but on the other hand, if it's that or repent your pagan ways, I guess folk belief's pretty good.
Yeah. You're dancing around the bonfires, idiotic idiots. Idiotic idiots. Oh, look at them dance around the fire like their traditions say with their folk beliefs.
So much better. Oh,
and
they
always said it that way too.
Yeah, the flat folk beliefs.
So that's, up until now, today, I feel like superstition is still, it has some of that derogatory meaning, but it's a little bit more widely accepted and kind of brushed to the side, or like, oh yeah, that's just a superstition.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think it's very tongue in cheek. Like actors break a leg. Yeah. That kind of thing. Like, break a leg. But on the other hand, how often in your regular life do you say, well, I don't want to jinx it? Yeah. Like people, they're like, these things still up. As a matter, I consider myself to be a pretty rational guy, which is probably a mistake. But yeah, like the phrase, I don't want to jinx it. Like I say that and I mean it. Like, oh, I don't want to say that out loud. It's gonna jinx the whole thing.
Right. Right. Everybody at some point or another, I'm sure, has performed some kind of little superstitious act or gotten all crazy excited when they find a 4-leaf clover or something.
Yeah, I think there's just that piece of people that know they're not in control, but desperately want to at least create this illusion of some modicum of control. I like
that you keep coming back to that, because that's something that I don't see often in the research that I was doing on it and have seen is that people, I think I agree that people want some control in their life, and that's why some of these are performed, some of these actions and gestures, some of the charms that people wear, things like that. It's a little bit of having control in a chaotic system, and I think that makes a little more sense to me than just a conditioned response to something.
Yeah, and I think that's the evolution of it. I mean, there is so many things that we kind of have quaintly, like the groom carries the bride over the threshold.
Yeah.
Black cats walking under ladders. I walk under ladders all the time, and I do it because it's
dumb.
Well, I mean, I bet you that superstition's because people used to get their heads cracked by things falling from people on ladders.
Boom.
But it bothers me that it bothers me.
Oh.
Because like for work, sometimes I have to walk under a ladder. And
But
the
it's
whole
always in the
time
back
I'm
of your
doing
head.
it, there's a part in my brain that's screaming.
That's funny.
Those things, once it's like when you're a kid, and like that's superstitions to a child are kind of like the first science we learn.
Yeah.
Rabbit's feet and touch blue, make it true, and things like that. That's like the first set of scientific tools. These are the tools with which we understand our world and interact with it.
Step on a crack, you break your mother's back.
Right.
Things like that.
And there's that. I think that your brain retains some of that. That
Sure.
No matter how much you know that you're not doing anything, I guarantee once a week a person will be walking down the sidewalk and be like, "Oh, they'll just do that little extra step to get over the crack."
And part of it, I think, also comes from the fact that they can't be necessarily disproven either.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You can't, because there's another superstition that clearly had sway over that situation.
Oh, yeah.
A stronger superstition.
Yeah,
A megastition.
An uberstition. You also get the whole thing where as technology evolves and as the world hopefully evolves, or things change from one thing to another, you get a transformation of superstition as well. And I'm thinking of the ritual of blowing into the Nintendo cartridge before you put it into the 8-bit Nintendo, Even though I'm sure that did nothing.
Yeah. But you do it.
But then if it didn't work, if you kept getting that blue or green screen flashing on there, you took it out and you blew harder.
Yeah.
You're like,
because that's all you can
do.
do. You don't have that weird screwdriver they use to put those things together. So there's nothing you can do. And people, and it's even the way people deal with, say, their computers or their cars. Mm-hmm. People have no idea what's going on inside their cars or their computers. They just know, like, oh, when it does this, I do this, and then it doesn't do that for a while.
Right.
I mean, that's superstition, but it is reproducible.
Yeah.
There's something in what they're doing that is affecting that thing, and they are fine with never knowing how those two things are linked. Which I guess technically, given the scientific definition, because the two things are in fact linked, then it's not a superstition. But
it's also easier for them.
Yeah, why? You don't have to know everything if you just know the weird things. But then people have all kinds of superstitions about technology that don't mean anything. I mean, one could argue that cell phones giving you brain cancer, maybe superstition.
Maybe fact. I mean, there's stuff like that. It's like, well, you get plenty of articles that say it does, plenty of articles that say it doesn't. So then you're left basically with, is it a superstition?
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Oh, I've got a great one. I've got a great example of a scientific superstition. Vaccines cause autism. That has been disproven every 800 ways from Sunday, from hell to breakfast.
Vaccines cause autism.
There was a scientist who, back in the late 90s, claimed that vaccines were responsible for the rise in autism in children.
In unborn children, like if the mother got vaccinated, or
if the child got vaccinated after they were born.
Okay.
And he was at the University of Utah, but this guy did this research, said, oh, there's a link here. No scientist was ever... He had a press conference before his work was peer-reviewed. the peer review was like, wait a minute, none of this works right. You doctored these results. You had selected your test subjects.
Ooh.
You messed with you made this up. He completely made it up because he had a large amount of money in the vaccine industry, of all things.
Jeez.
In specific areas of the vaccine industry that would have done well with this.
Shocking.
And to this day, there's a huge rise in things like measles, mumps. These are things that you and I were vaccinated against.
Oh,
but
yeah.
there was almost a generation of moms who were afraid to vaccinate their kids, and it persists based on this one guy and his terrible scientific hoax.
Wow. All for money.
And to this day, there are still people like, no. I heard that gives you autism. We're not going to do that. That's a great example of a superstition.
Yeah, it's scary now that people are, and who's to say that some of these superstitions of old weren't born out of someone's greed of the day, something that would benefit them or something.
Absolutely, if you don't have Cracker Jacks at the ball game, your team's gonna lose.
Oh.
I don't know if they ever used that, but they should have. But I guess the point is that we're not above it. We're not
right.
like Star Trek where we look back on the problems of history and just tut. You poor bastards. Like, we are still neck deep in it. We are just as inclined to believe and generate new superstitions.
True. And like I said way back at the beginning, the things that make up superstitions are things like omens, charms, rituals, things like that. I'll briefly go through a few of these. An omen is a phenomenon that's believed to foretell the future, and it can be good or bad. For example, seeing a comet can be good for somebody, bad for somebody else. In particular, Halley's Comet, they believed was bad for King Harold II in England, but seeing Halley's Comet later was a good sign for William the Conqueror, apparently. So omens, it's all in who you are, how you view it.
It's a great superstition.
Yeah. Charms are a popular thing, even today, I would say. A charm is something that's worn or carried on one's person for its supposed magical effect, and this includes things like amulets, talisman, and they're usually worn for protection of something or another.
Usually they confer some positive benefit.
Yeah.
In some cases, they don't. Some cases, they are a curse themselves. I mean, I know exactly. There's one specific leprechaun who is being hounded by children to the edge of the earth, and he has several lucky charms.
What, will you just please give them back to him? Just give them back to the poor.
The kids are not going to give up.
Give this guy his lucky charms back, for the love of Pete. Yeah, and he's getting so much bad luck and evil coming into his life.
Right, just let the kids have those damn charms.
What a bunch of dicks, man. But yeah, they include things like gems and coins, pendants, rings, statues. For example, one charm that's probably pretty well known. How about a crucifix? It's something that wards off evil. It stands for stands for what it stands for. But it
is what it is.
It is what it is. But that's to ward off evil, especially vampires. If you go down that path. Four-leaf clover is a popular charm. The Hamsa hand is a popular charm. Pretty much anything, a ring of protection +1, that's okay to get if you're low level. If you're low level, that's all right.
Well, that'll get you on the road. I mean, whatever starts.
And then you've got your rituals and traditions that you follow, which is ritual is a set of actions performed to satisfy an obligation or a need. And I'm thinking of tossing a pinch of salt over your left shoulder. We'll get into this in a little bit, specifically salt, but can you think of any other rituals that people might do?
See, now this is like rituals is a particularly, to me, interesting part of the umbrella of superstitions, because rituals, especially just like your definition just now was spot on, is almost interchangeable for to my mind, like a OCD.
Oh, sure.
They're physical actions that you have to perform to satisfy a need.
Right.
If you touch something left hand, touch it right hand. If you turn right, turn left. If you to establish balance or to scratch that itch.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it turns out science, I mean, like psychologists have looked into this, and they don't consider, they think that a lot of symptoms of OCD mimic superstitions, and there might even be some attempt on the part of perhaps a patient. Patient doesn't want to say, I have OCD, but they will say they're superstitious.
Interesting.
And then further investigation and therapy brings out, no, or, like, oh, they actually do have these compulsive disorders. This isn't something they're doing because they want to have a better day.
Yeah.
They're doing it because they can't not do it.
Right.
And so they're actually very specific to say, no, they do have some similar appearances, but they are very, very different things.
Yeah.
And just as OCD is, obsessional, compulsive, that kind of thing that you have to do. Whereas I almost view rituals and superstitions, they're kind of like a cosmic have a penny, leave a penny jar. Like, oh, if you got the opportunity to knock on wood when all the numbers on the clock are the same. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of that before? Because there was a kid when I was growing up who said, oh, it's lucky if you knock on wood when it's 11:11 or 3:33. To this day, I'll do it.
That little jackass made that up. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, I'm coming after you.
But I think that is important to point out. A superstition, I feel like, is something that you consciously do in order to affect an outcome, whereas OCD is something that you do with no control.
Right. And the two aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. It's not like you can't be both. Mm-hmm. But the specific activities usually boil down to different camps, even in your own mind, if you don't see it that way. The pressure, the desire to perform those two different kinds of actions. Yeah. A small, like you said, pinch over your shoulder versus having to wash your hands 5 times a day, Yeah.
Well, so yeah, cool. That's a great point. Let's jump into the top 10 superstitions. I found a site
nice
that had that listed the top 10.
It was like top 10 of 2012?
It was not of 2012. It was the website was top 10 worldwide or something like that. I think .com.
We'll trust them.
Until
we're given reason not to.
Who knows? There's a lot of sites that do list superstitions. Few of them put them in an order.
Yeah.
But
few have the courage to rank them and pit them against each other.
So coming in at number 10, according to this site, was spilling salt.
Oh yeah.
So I'll quickly go through this. Spilling salt is said to arouse evil spirits.
Arouse them?
Arouse them. Salt was obviously a valuable commodity back in the day, and it was also used in exorcism and for protection from evil. That's some thought that where that comes from, the idea that spilling it, is I can't use it anymore. But one explanation is that Judas overturned the salt cellar at the Last Supper.
Oh.
And so it's bad form, Peter Pan, to spill any salt. As an antidote, tossing a pinch over your left shoulder will drive away the devil who is lurking there, basically.
Over the sinister shoulder. Yeah.
Right. The angel's on the right shoulder, devil's on the left shoulder. And
not according to the advice I've been getting lately.
Hantavirus. Oh, gosh. Well, we'll see the devil soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, throwing salt. Here's one for you. Throwing salt after someone leaves your house who's just visited, said to ensure that they do not return for a long time.
I will see if that works.
On who?
Nope, not saying.
There's also a German belief that a girl who neglects to put the salt on the table in the first place is revealing the fact that she is no longer a virgin.
Germans, man. That is like to a hand-printed 3-year-old turkey picture. Like,
what?
That
A to a hand-printed turkey?
Not A to B, but A to something far.
I see.
Beyond. So if you forget the salt, you've been doing things.
You've been down in the TNT area of Point Pleasant.
But Nice. That was really good. That was great. That was completely well done. Yeah, I did. I was like...
Yeah. So that's salt. That's salt. Number 9, wishbones.
Ooh, yeah.
The wishbone is a forked bone that lies between the fowl's neck and breast, and when it's dried and pulled between two people so that it breaks, the person holding the larger piece is granted a wish. But you can't laugh, talk, or reveal the secret while you're pulling or you can't reveal it afterwards. But while you're pulling, you can't laugh or talk, or else it's nullified.
Whoa, I've never heard the laughing or talking thing, which explains why so many of my wishes went unfulfilled growing up, because it was like a throwdown. Like, we had sides of the family shouting encouragement, everyone screaming as you pulled the wishbone.
That's it, man.
Yeah, well.
Now, traditionally, it may have roots in the resemblance of a horseshoe, which is also a lucky charm. So, that's the wishbone. Number 8, the rabbit's foot. Pretty common one.
Yeah, I think everyone's, if they haven't owned one, they've seen one on a keychain. I think we're a little too animal friendly these days to have those, but I remember growing up, those things were everywhere.
I used to get them out of the little quarter machines, like, outside of a Walmart. And I'm sure they weren't real. I hope they were.
Where I grew up, they were real. They had fingernails and everything.
Well, I guess these had fingernails too, but they were dyed these stupid colors, bright blue, bright red. But anyway, rabbit's foot's supposed to bring exceptional good luck if it's worn around the neck on a chain, or if it's carried in your left pocket. They're ideally
I like this.
Hang on to this one. They're ideally made from the left hind leg of a rabbit, killed by a cross-eyed man in the light of a full moon. You like that one?
I love all of that. People, I'm going out to make lucky rabbits.
Boom! Oh, the door.
Ernest, you can't shoot that crossbow.
He has a crossbow because he's cross-eyed? Is
Yeah.
that what this joke was?
That's got to be extra. I mean, how else is he killing them? If you got a cross-eyed man, yes, he shoots a crossbow. That's why they're called crossbows.
He has all kinds of crosses hanging in his house.
That's right. By a railroad crossing. During the day, he's a crossing guard. And he loves Crosby, Stills, and Nash. We're dipshits. We're the worst kind of people.
Oh, we look forward to your hate mail now.
We are eager to accept your terror.
Oh, man.
Terror wasn't the right word. You're mad at us. We're terrified.
So, witches are said to favor rabbits as disguises or familiars, which leads to the belief of their supernatural qualities for having the foot. So that's number 8. Number 7. You care to guess what number 7 might come in?
Oh,
Did you look?
See.
Did
no,
you see it?
I didn't. I wanted to. I was going to cheat. Let's see. I don't even begin to know. Carrying the bride across the threshold.
No, ladders.
Oh man!
Ladders. Yep. Walking under ladders, bad luck, right? Now this has a couple of different origins that it could be from. I'm sure all of these have 1,000 places they probably are derived from, but
yeah.
For ladders, it could be that ladders that were leaned against a wall formed a triangle, which is the sign of the Holy Trinity, and you don't want to walk through the middle of the Holy Trinity because it's disrespectful to Jesus and all the babies.
I would have thought that it would be like you just get covered in Trinity. Like, that's a good thing.
Like from the Matrix?
That's the best thing. Oh, man. Don't confuse me like that.
All right.
But yeah, that is the best thing. If you can get covered by the Trinity, whether holy or leather clad.
The other origin for it, and this is the one I like, criminals used to be hanged from the top rung of a ladder that was leaned up against the crux of a tree when there wasn't a suitable gallows or maybe a limb that they could hang from. And so their spirit then lingered underneath the ladder, and that's why you didn't want to stir them up when you walked underneath a ladder. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I can understand that. There's a lurking spirit.
Yeah.
Of a criminal, no less. You think they don't get better once you kill them. They don't learn.
So number 6, what do you think number 6 is?
I'm gonna go with rally caps.
Broken mirrors.
Oh, 7 years bad luck.
Breaking a mirror causes 7 years bad luck. Now, mirrors were thought to be the images of the soul, a reflection of your soul. It was obviously bad form to break your soul up.
Yeah, don't do it.
But to keep your luck, here's what you could do. Wait for 7 hours before you're picking up the pieces, 1 hour for every year of bad luck. And then you can bury them on sacred ground in the moonlight, or throw them in a swift-moving river.
Oh, I'm going to go with the river, because that's just easier. Do you have to do that in the moonlight? Or just...
No, just throw them in a swift-flowing river stream. But yeah, I mean, that's mirrors have always been kind of a mystifying thing for people and cultures.
Yeah. Or
so that
people,
makes sense.
People who are new to hallucinogenic drugs.
Ayahuasca soon. We should start a Get Us to South America fund.
Oh, God. And we'll never... That's it for us, man. You don't come back from South America.
I guess not. Number 5. What do you think?
13. Number 13.
Close. The 4-leaf clover.
Oh, I'm the worst at this. If only I'd been wearing my other socks.
4-leaf clover, considered a good luck charm. The 4 leaves represent fame, wealth, faithful lover, and good health. So all the things you need in life.
Yeah.
It protects also against witchcraft. There's a bonus for you. And
I get a faithful lover and no witchcraft.
Yeah, that's right. But that's not all. If you wear it, it grants you the ability to see fairies. I know
Too
you,
easy.
You
That's letting it ride.
You went down on Halstead here. Is what you did.
Yeah, I know.
It the origin may be from a biblical legend that said Eve stole some clover as she was exiled from paradise. Oh. So is clover actually from the hollow earth?
Oh, Darby O'Gillen, the little people.
Number 4, what do you think?
13.
Nope. Horseshoes.
Honestly,
horseshoes.
There's nothing superstitious about a horseshoe. I refute this. Utterly.
All right. But it said that it's good luck if you found it, if it was legitimately lost by a horse, found by you, open end facing you, and then hung above your door.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. This is a good example of like Haley's comment. Not lucky for the horse. Not lucky for the horse.
Right.
That is a lot. That is such a highly specific thing.
What, and the cross-eyed guy wasn't?
But the cross-eyed guy could, like, he's cross-eyed and he's going to go choose to cut a specific leg off of a rabbit at midnight. All right, you're right. You're right. I hate myself for trying to defend that.
So the properties of a horseshoe may be derived from the crescent shape that it resembles the moon, because there's a lot of moon mystery that has gone on, or that it was made of iron, which is the most magical of all the metals.
Wouldn't you be able to help your eye? Doesn't that just ensure that people walk with traffic? Because then wouldn't all the horseshoes on the ground be facing you that you find?
That's a good point, but how do you know which way the traffic is going if you're new to an area? And
well, I mean, you just stay to the right.
What if you're in England?
Stay to the left.
Good answer. Okay. Moving on.
Actually, you still stay to the right, don't you? It's just you're on the left.
Yeah.
Well, see, I just killed us in England. We have to go to South America because they'll kill us if we go to England.
Also, seven nail holes are the luckiest because seven's popular lucky number. Oh, here's a bonus for you. Also deters witches and fairies.
Was witches a huge problem at some point?
You know it was.
That's true, man. Because people are really. I mean, like that's why witches are extinct now. We found so many ways to limit their power that they just gave up.
Well, they're not extinct. There's plenty of witches out there, and they're not the witches that they've been stereotyped into being.
No, witches today, today's witches is to proper witches as LARPers are to the legions of Rome.
I can see your point. I do think that a lot of witches today, though, are a lot hotter than LARPers would be to the legions of Rome.
Well, you know what? You only, that is You're just like dodging sideways now. Yeah. Witches today are hotter than witches used to be. Used to have to be ugly, but
it also depends on which way you.
LARPers are better educated than the legions of Rome. Is that there? No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's just throw out some more facts here.
Yeah.
Foam swords versus metal.
I just don't respect modern witches.
You don't?
Nope.
Okay. That's fair, but that means I'm getting all that.
Yeah, you are. I just wrote a check out of your ass, too. We're going to get hexed and cursed and maybe bewildered.
Jeez. Witches are hot these days there.
They are hot. They are better. Well, some of them are.
Number 3, what do you think it is?
Thank you for ending that. 13, number 13. It's going to be my answer from here on out, because if it doesn't show up, I'm going to destroy this place with my fury.
You're doing this incessantly. I think it's becoming a superstition.
Yeah.
Number 3 is number 13.
Yeah! Woo, I knew it! All I had to do was keep saying 13, and someday it would work.
What's it called when you're afraid of it, Stecco?
Triskaidekaphobia.
People also will not build... They don't number their floors in buildings with the number 13. It goes straight from 12 to 14.
Yeah, especially like older buildings. Actually, we'll have this on the website. I've got a number of photos. My job allows me to go into some of the finer, older high-rises here in Chicago, and I take pictures of the elevator panels.
Nice.
So we've got some pictures of some 13-less. Some buildings opt just with a sweet 12 to 14.
Yeah.
Other buildings just pay lip service with a floor 12 and a half, which I think would be the best floor to live on.
Yeah, if you're John Malkovich. Or,
yeah, exactly.
I guess John Cusack at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got some pictures of that on the website for you.
Cool. And the Witches' Coven had 13 members, which were 12 witches and the devil.
As did Jesus and the apostles.
That was it. There were 13 at the Last Supper, and the last one to sit down, our friend Judas.
What didn't he fuck up at that meal?
The fish. It was delicious.
He nailed it.
The tarot, the 13th card is death. Friday the 13th, obviously a popular day to be scared of.
Yeah.
That comes from many different sources. One of the more popular ones coming out these days is that it was the day that the Knights Templar were hunted and killed in Europe back in the Middle Ages.
Back in like 600 years ago.
Right. 600 years ago when everything happened.
Yeah, everything happened.
Have you heard that? Have you not heard that Friday the 13th was the day that...
No, actually, I don't know anything about that as like the root of it. So that's interesting. Now, is that when it? I mean, obviously, they didn't kill all the Templars in one day. That was when like the order went out.
Exactly. That's like 600 hours. You are on your horse with a sword going to these dudes' homes.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So ever since then, it was. I mean, this is one of the theories that have cropped up. But there's evidence that the number 13 in particular, the fear of it existed in Roman culture even before Jesus, even back as far as ancient Egypt and Hindu culture and stuff like that. So you can't blame it all on Judas. You can't blame it all on the slaughtering of the knights.
That's interesting. Now, like businesses will even fall off. You'll actually see a decrease in business on Friday the 13th. And I mean, do people... I mean, I don't know anyone who's ever said I'm staying home that day.
Right.
But there's always some jagbag in the office who's like, Friday the 13th, look out. I'm the jagbag. There's always that guy. And you know what? Listen to the podcast. Maybe you can be that guy for your office.
Okay, so number 2. What do you think number 2 is?
Well, I knew what my answer was going to be, but I don't think 13 is going to pay out anymore. Blue moon, maybe?
Blue moon?
Yeah. When there's 2 full moons in a month?
Nope, black cats.
Black cats. I said that earlier.
Classic. The U.S. believes, along with a couple other countries like Belgium, that a black cat crossing your path bestows bad luck. But it's the opposite in the British Isles. They are harbingers of good luck.
See? That's awesome. Well, I'm still going to kill us when we go there, but we should go there to die.
We should go there and hug a bunch of black cats.
Yeah, then die.
To be safe. They were often depicted as witches' familiars or maybe witches or sorcerers themselves. So that has some connotation with why it might be considered bad luck over here anyway. So black cats, that's something that's pretty big. I think today over in the States anyway.
Yeah.
So
black cats. Go to England if you like them. But as long as you stay in America, you will stay clear of them.
So number one, what do you think number one is?
Man, I've spent the last 2 minutes trying to think of one. Like, the whole time you were talking, all I was thinking of is another superstition. And so, since I couldn't think of one, I am opening my dictionary of superstitions. I believe the number one superstition... So we get some good paper page-turning sounds.
That sounds great right next to the microphone.
Well, you have to hear it. I believe that is the pasque flower. The purple-flowered anemone that is widely grown for its attractive bloom. I think it's probably because of the Southern English tradition of considerable antiquity, claiming that the pasque flowers only grow where Saxon blood has been spilled. So I'm going to say that's the number one. I think that's the most common one, that they only grow where there's been Saxon blood spilled. So
you just guessed that one.
Top of my head. Top of my head.
Number one is knocking on wood.
Yeah!
Knocking on wood, which is a gesture that's used to counter the threat one may incur when boasting or willing something to happen.
Oh my god, it is directly linked to the jinx.
Yeah, exactly. It is the jinx. It's like...
It's anti-jinx. It's unjinxed.
So knocking on wood is associated with seeking protection of... Could be the wood of the cross. Again, you get a religious theme here. Or it could be invoking the benevolent wood gods or spirits that are brought out with a knock or a touch of wood.
I did not think I could bring out wood spirits by punching them.
You don't punch them. Just maybe they're home.
It's like knocking on a door.
Right.
I guess there's a difference between knocking on wood and wailing on wood.
Right.
Which is always bad luck to your knuckles in hand.
So that's it. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Number one most popular there.
I hope that we did not burden you with these, that you may feel compelled to engage in them for the rest of your days.
Yeah.
I know that in my life, maybe sometimes I believe in things that don't exist. Perhaps the efficacy of the Chicago Bears passing game. And maybe that I've learned my lesson there.
Have you? Have any of this?
It is a superstition because I keep going back.
Being from the theater, being from a theater background, I do know some superstitions associated with that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wearing green is bad luck, and that comes from being in the limelight, which is I think like the late 1800s. Even they lit stages with
sodium lights. Is it?
Yeah, like the footlights had a green tint to them, and you didn't want to appear like you're just a big pile of puke
right
on stage. Whistling in a theater is bad luck. And this comes from when they would hire sailors to run the flies that lifted the scrims and the screens in the background and the curtains. And if you're just whistling willy-nilly, then you could get a really heavy curtain or screen come down on your head.
Or one of those bags that are just full of sand or whatever.
Right, exactly, yeah. Because sailors whistled to communicate, which lines to raise and lower. And then there's the old classic, don't say Macbeth in a theater.
Yeah.
That you have to say the Scottish play.
I don't get that. That's just irritating to me. And I perform. Yeah. I've done stage things. I have never had any respect for that one, which is probably why to this day I have still not been in Macbeth. No one has asked.
That's right. You say Macbeth in theater, you'll never play that.
You're blacklisted.
Yeah. So yeah, those are some of the ones for acting and stuff. Do you have any in particular you want to throw out there that we haven't covered?
Boy, no. I think I went through like the ones that bedevil me. The knocking on when the clock's all the same number. I still do that.
Yeah, that's
and I do avoid occasionally stepping on cracks. Although my mom's back has nothing to do with it. I just would prefer not to step on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone would say that they're not a superstitious person, but everyone has these little tiny things rattling around in their brains that they do. Yeah, everyone's got lucky underwear. Everyone, like when you just do laundry, you still will reach into the underwear stack of neatly folded underwears to pull out your favorite one. Is that just because you like it the most, or do you think it's lucky? I mean, I've got lucky underwear.
I feel like every time I wear a pair of underwear that I think is lucky, everything falls apart for me.
Oh, well, see, that's. I think the antithesis is just as good as the intention.
So that's superstitions there for you.
There you go. That's what fragile, broken people we are. Let's
jump into some superstitious puns.
Oh, okay. I've got a really great one.
Okay.
But I'd like you to start this one off.
Alrighty. I've got a prank shop called No Charm No Foul.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, of all the prank shops that are
for all the people who like to prank. All right. I've got one because I do like Stevie Wonder so much. It's called Barry's Superb Dishes. It's just dishware.
Barry's Super Dishes.
I was really proud of that when I said it, and it didn't age well.
I think all puns are not fine wines.
Right? Yeah, true.
My second one, a locksmith called Amulet Me In.
Oh, man.
Pretty wretched, huh?
That's... Everything about that hurt me. I really only had Barry's Superb Dishes. I thought that it was... I even said it when I wrote it down. This is so good, it counts as 2. Oh... Usually I can try to whip one up on the fly, and man, I got to tell you that Amulet Me In just punched me right in my imagination's throat.
Well, this is where you guys can come in.
Yeah,
send us a pun here. Void. And also, I would like to know some of your all's favorite superstitions, or if there's something that you do that you find brings you good luck.
Oh, yeah, squirrely family superstitions.
Yep.
I get Pop-Tarts on my birthday, to this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to get them as a kid, and to this day, the morning of my birthday, I go, I'll either go the night before and get them, or I'll get them the morning of my birthday and have a Pop-Tart on my birthday morning.
Huh. That's funny. I'm sure I have one. I'm bad at thinking of stuff in general, but...
I'm bad at stuff. But yeah, tell us, I would be particularly interested to hear, what you know are hyper-specific. Things that you and your siblings cooked up that you're still compelled to do.
Yeah. And a pun. And go to blurryphotos.org. Submit the form there on the contact page. Go to Facebook, like us. Go to the Twitters and follow us on there. Mm-hmm. Get an RSS feed. We got all kinds of stuff. We can hook you up.
Yeah,
go to the site.
There's no limit to the amount of us you can get in your life.
Right. Until you're done listening to this and have to wait a week.
Yep.
So, besides that, I think that's all I got. You got anything else?
I think we put a pretty nice little ribbon on this.
Awesome. Well, until next time, I am David Flora.
And I am willingly David Stecco.
And we'll talk at you later.